I wish there were Instagram when we had our production, so I can show you what does it look like, behind the scene, and what do you need to do in order to get your product and to be really good and to put it on the market and to sell it and then to deliver it, and there is so much things you need to do. So nowadays, yes, like you said, a lot of things have changed, but I think we have this ideal picture, like a picture of ideal romantic relationship, in movies this all seems great, but when it happens in real life it doesn't look that way actually.
Welcome to Storypreneurs. Today, we have the inspiring Sonia Dakic, an experienced entrepreneur and NLP trainer. Sonia started her journey by creating eco-friendly bamboo cloth diapers and receiving the Success Flower Award for Innovation. She exited her business in 2017 to focus on mentoring. Since then, she's been a mentor in various programs and has run her own mentoring program since 2018, working with close to 200 solopreneurs and small teams. Get ready to be inspired by her journey and insights. She has joined us today. Welcome, Sonia.
Thank you, Seth, for this nice invitation and the chance to share my story. I'm very grateful and looking forward to our conversation.
Absolutely. I mean, ever since I saw your, your background, and I was recommended by a previous guest of mine, Sonia Jovic. She was like, you have to interview Sonia Dakic. She's absolutely amazing. So I'm so glad to have you here, and thank you for finding the time. I know you're very, very busy. So let's get into it. Tell me, Sonia, how did all of this start?
Well, I think the most interesting thing about me is that I never plan or dream to become an entrepreneur. Actually, I consider myself to be a good worker in somebody else's company. And I had previously worked for 10 years before I became a mother in various industries and small companies, usually not large companies. And I was good there, I had good colleagues, I work on interesting projects, and I thought that was it for me. But then when I became a mother, actually, everything changed, and in a way my priorities changed, and me and my husband, we wanted to find the best diaper for our baby. This is like 2008, and in Serbia the cloth diaper, the modern cloth diaper, weren't available, and we got some package from UK from our cousin, and we liked it so much, and this is how my entrepreneurship journey started. And I like to say that somehow it looked like the Alice in Wonderland. I just bumped into the whole of the entrepreneurship without much knowledge, without any connections, and it was like 15 years ago, 16 years ago. So the ecosystem wasn't there, if we talk about my region, Serbia and local Balkan. So it was quite challenging. But I think the most important thing I knew is that I don't know a lot about entrepreneurship. I knew graphic design, I knew pre-press, I knew what was my, formal education, but that kept me going, and I kept being open to learn and being curious about to talk to people and to see, where can I find the information, because it was, the system and the World Wide Web didn't look like this 15 years ago. So we didn't have so much information as today. So it was challenging, but I think what kept me going is that I want to learn. This idea was bigger than me, and I wanted to do wherever possible that I can to bring it to life.
So where did you find the resources to, build your business?
Well, we have a saying here in Serbia, I know a guy who knows a guy, so everything is done through networking. So I just kept going. Usually what I see as a mistake, when somebody has an idea, they are scared to share it with other people. So they're like, somebody will steal my idea. And I'm the opposite of it. I talk to everyone, and I was like, I need women that can sew, that can make the diapers. I need machines. I need materials. We didn't have anything here. So by talking to people and really going around and telling everyone, I actually got contacts for the women, for the machines, for the materials. We imported most of the stuff because we didn't have it locally. But that was the thing. I was open to collaborate with others and to say that I don't know something in order to, to find a solution for my need, for my problem.
Did you have any background in marketing or in business previously? Was this your first business?
No, this was my first business, and like I said, I didn't plan to. I mean, I was doing the graphic design and pre-press before it, so I had some skills in the field of design, but nothing around marketing, sales. I have been working in movie industry, and I was able to see, how big campaigns are made when it's like a blockbuster movie and that kind of stuff. But when I started my business, I didn't have the practical knowledge, and I definitely didn't have the budget. And I remember when we made our first website, because we were selling online when we started, because it was the most affordable model for us. And I was working with my programmer, and when we finished the site, it was on the third page of the Google, the search page. And I was like, nobody's going to the third page of the Google, nobody goes there. We just checked the first one. And he was like, be patient, be patient. We don't have money to advertise on Google Ads, but if you put in the good content, people will come, and within 3 to 6 months your website will be on the first page. And it was really like that. So sometimes when you're starting up and it's really difficult, you have so much things you need to do, you don't have money to cover up for everything, then you invest your time. And this is something that I always tell to the people that I work with, especially in those early stages in the first year. You have to invest something. You have to have some resources, whether it's your time, your energy, your money. Someone has the money, so they can change it. But this is the important for people to understand, that you have to invest something in order to make it happen.
Looking back, what are some of the key lessons that you've learned?
Well, to be open and to stay curious, to finding, when it comes to entrepreneurship, how I see it is you just kept on trying to find a solution to your problem, find the answer to your question, So I was very open to connect with other people, to network, to go to different kind of events. Back in those days, Instagram didn't exist. We had Facebook, but it was more of it just started to get this marketing part of it. It more started like, see my vacation photos and connect with some, people from around the world. So it was more one-on-one and maybe more oriented to live events and conferences and that kind of stuff. And my great advantage was I had this innovative product, and people were interested to learn our story. So this is something that opened doors for us. And also what I realized in our first year and maybe even second, when you're offering something that is new, that is innovative, it is in a way advantage, but also people don't know what it is, so you need to educate people. So I think that's the first step in order to educate the possible customers and then turn them into your buyers.
Obviously, marketing then was very different than what it is now, because obviously now you've got many different channels, many different tactics that you can use to create that brand awareness, to create that education. Then you push them down the funnel. How did you do that before? Was it just one-on-one, going to events, speaking to people?
It was more one-on-one and going to events, absolutely. And it was a lot of recommendation, because mother, even at that times, had certain Facebook groups, and then they will recommend, like, my baby had this problem and this is how I managed. So it was like a influencer marketing in the starting point, maybe, before it became so much popular. But yeah, it was more on live events, conferences, and I went everywhere where I could, every invitation that we got, whether it was TV show, radio, magazine, whatever, there was a chance to share the story. I never questioned should I go or not. I was always there, because I knew that in order to reach a very very small niche of the market of the parents who are ready to use my products, I need to inform, to address a much larger community, much larger audience. So I was like, every chance that I got. When it comes to marketing and PR, how I perceive it, it's like a domino effect. So the most important thing is to show up the first time, and then somebody else will see it. And that was my situation. We went on TV, and the TV back then was really a big thing. Not everyone could reach some morning show or that kind of stuff. So we went on a short, 5 minutes maybe, on a morning show, a short interview, and then some other people or some other media house, saw it, and they invited us for the interview, and it was like a domino effect, they just kept on going.
Right now, there's a lot of entrepreneurs who want to call themselves entrepreneurs. I guess a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs who want to create their own business, be location independent, achieve that financial freedom. I got so many questions I want to ask you, but I'm going to start with this one because I know you're the right person to ask. Why do you think, first of all, there is this huge shift to entrepreneurship right now?
I think it's the marketing, the image that you just explained, because not nobody, but less people are showing the behind the scenes, what it takes to build something that's now promoted on Instagram, like an easy life of entrepreneur. But I think, and I wish there were Instagram when we had our production, so I can show you what does it look like, behind the scene, and what do you need to do in order to get your product and to be really good and to put it on the market and to sell it and then to deliver it, and there is so much things you need to do. So nowadays, yes, like you said, a lot of things have changed, but I think we have this ideal picture, like a picture of ideal romantic relationship. In movies this all seems great, but when it happens in real life it doesn't look that way actually. So I think the marketing around entrepreneurship is really it's a potential that a lot of people see and they come into it, but there are a lot of people selling, for instance, courses, mentorship, master classes, membership, whatever, and they're actually building their businesses by learning other people to do the business, whether they did it or not in the so for instance, if I didn't have 7 years of experience building my business, I could never enter the mentorship identity as I do, because no matter how many courses, certifications I went to, how many coaching programs I finished, without this practical knowledge, I don't think that I personally would be brave and to put it into my, how to say, integrity, to actually come out as a mentor and say, okay, I have been there, I have done this, I have traveled this road, and I know what it's looked like, and I have some additional tools and knowledge that I collected along the way that can help you work to this. But today is really about setting the ideal picture and not talking about what does it really take, because if you look at the statistics, you learn that only 3 to 5% actually stay operating within 5 years. So I think that is something also that we need to talk about.
Absolutely. There's actually a lot of things I want to talk to you about. So, I mean, you must look at these courses, these gurus that are selling these courses, promising these 6 figures, and you must look at them. What do you say to yourself? Do you say like these are just scammers? Poor them?
For once, for the first thing is I appreciate everyone's work. So I always say, hands down on the work that someone else did. Sometimes people are easy to buy on the story, and I like to look behind the story, because I think what's selling the best today is lifestyle. So, you go someplace on a beach and you take a picture of your new laptop and your lemonade or something like that. And I'm like, I never go on a beach with my laptop. I don't want to do it. That's my vacation. Maybe I will bring a book, but that's it. I'm not taking my laptop. This is not my perfect picture, my perfect business surroundings. So there are a lot but I think my feeling is that it will pass, because I meet with a lot of people that have ideas, and I say, idea is just a potential. And the thing that makes the difference is whether or not you're going to do something with that potential. And it really takes a lot of work, because there are things in mine and your business that we like to do. These are these creative things when we get into flow and lose sense of time and everything. But there are also things that you and I don't like to do, but still do it. This is something about maybe bookkeeping, finance, administration, operation. And yes, you can delegate some of the things, but some of them have to come from you. And we both agree to do this unpleasant tasks in order to have what we value, to make the impact that we want, and to really be, driven to do what we want to do. And I think that this percentage is not always 50-50. Sometimes it's maybe 70-30 when the 30 presents the things that we like to do and 70 the things that we don't so much like to do, but we still do it. So we are prepared to do what needs to be done in order to achieve what we want. And I think this is important for people to understand, that it's not always sunny, beautiful day in the land of entrepreneurship, but this is what actually make you an entrepreneur, how you function. I like the metaphor of how you, for instance, react in the car. If when it's crowded, it's easy to enjoy the ride when you're all alone. You have sun, you have nice road ahead, and you just have beautiful music to listen to. But how you react when it's crowded, when somebody jumps in front of you, and this is what defines you actually. This is where I can see your real temperament and characteristics. And I think the same goes in the business.
What are some of the common pitfalls that entrepreneurs fall for, and ultimately it gets their undoing?
Well, like I said, they are scared to share their ideas, so they keep it to themselves. But I think the maybe the second thing would be to expect results quicker. They don't have the patience. They don't have the patience to go through the process and to understand that entrepreneurship is really a marathon. It's not a quick, it's not a quick game.
Sprint.
Yeah, it's not a sprint. It's not happening overnight. You can achieve certain things, overnight in a way, but if you want long lasting, it's like a relationship. You have to build it up. And you really have to go through different situations with someone to understand, if this is the right person. I think the same goes with this idea, because I work mainly with women and they come to me with bunch of ideas and they're like, how can I choose one? And I say, we choose one when we think about what everything that I need to do. What would be one idea that will keep me going when things are not working, when people are not showing, when money is not coming? What is the one idea where I can really go over everything and say, okay, but this was worth it. So I kept going.
Wow, that's very true. That's very true. It's true that a lot of people have a lot of ideas and they don't execute on them. Be there fear of failure, or be there's just so many things that comes to it. I mean, when I started my business, I ended up, I had to change so many times to marketing automation, which is what my real background is. Because I wanted to do, I wanted to do ads, I wanted to do websites, I wanted to do, virtual assistants, I wanted to do so many things to help businesses grow. And then in the end, I was just getting a lot of work, and my default fallback was marketing automation. So I ended up falling on that and ended up developing that. So it's very interesting that you say that. I'm curious to understand, I guess, are there any, because you obviously work with hundreds of entrepreneurs, are there any sort of common traits that make an entrepreneur?
Well, I think it's more about, we can say it, mindset, about how you approach life. If I learned that, I realized that about myself when I was around 30, that actually I learned this from my mother, because she was, and she still is, a great, incredible woman that finds a solution for every problem. And she's always, this is like absolutely positive attitude around life. So whatever happened, and we really had different things happen to us on a locally level, from war to through bombing, through different kind of stuff when I was a little. And watching her go through that, being a single parent with 3 kids, small kids, I was like, she can do anything. And she still today is. She's 77 this year, and she's the most active, living person that I know. And I realized that watching her and growing with her is something that is really a big part of my identity. And people usually, when they work with me, they're like, oh, but you're such a great person. And this hope that I have around how I perceive life is actually what keep them motivated in a way and inspired. So I think when it comes to entrepreneurship, the important thing is, what is your beliefs, what is your system of values that you bring into it that will actually make you a certain kind of man or woman.
Talking about entrepreneurship, and you said obviously the success rate, and I completely agree. That's like the first 5 years, there's literally one in or two and three in 100 that actually end up surviving. And how does one know that they're in the right way? How does one know through going through all these hurdles that they need to keep pushing, or this is just a waste of time and they need to move on to the next thing?
I think that's $1 million question. Well, there are things that we can follow, and I think when it comes to, I have my own podcast also, and when I have guests, I have combined hybrid model. Some episodes I do by myself, and some with guests. And when I have a guest, I usually ask them. That's my last question in our interview is how they measure success. And then you can see how people change their, how it's changed over the years, especially if they are parents now, and it really changed the person from inside out. So I think when it comes to entrepreneurship and, how do you know whether you're on the right road or not is what do you measure? And why did you enter this entrepreneurship journey in the first place, like a hero's journey? Did you want more money? Did you want more time? Did you want to really make an impact, to make a change? So depending on that, I think that's a good question to ask yourself from time to time, because it's really good to know whether I want to be a solopreneur and really see myself on that road, whether I want to build company with maybe 5, 10, 15 employees, or do I see myself, becoming, I don't know, because with my first business, I had a chance. I went to Investment Ready Academy in Impact Hub in Vienna, and we had like this 3 months incubator, and we worked with investors and everything. And I had a chance to get an investment of 100,000 euros, which was really a big thing for us, and it would help us to enter the European market and that kind of stuff. But then I realized when I really, came back home and think about it, I was like, I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready, and I didn't have local support. I didn't have a local mentor that can really guide me to grow into this new identity, because I realized if we do that, we will have to scale from like 3 women in production to 20 women in production. And I didn't see myself managing those 20 women. So you have to be really honest with yourself, what are my capacity and where I'm ready to grow, where I'm ready to develop myself in order for this idea to become bigger, and where I just don't see myself, and maybe to, if I can have someone else do it, or just to leave it as it is. So I think it's really important to know your measure and to see whether you want to scale it or not. So whether you want to fill in, the larger position, or this is where I feel like at home.
True, and I think also just want to add to that. I think also it's important that self-awareness, right? Because for me, I mean, my business has now become a lifestyle business because I'm more focused on, getting the freedom out of my business that it provides so I can do my traveling and nomadism around the world, then growing the business and really having that driving force behind that. I think my next question is actually around that. How does one get that self-awareness? A lot of the times the ego is in the way, and they're very
Yes.
stubborn people, and I know that, and I've met a lot of people, and it's like, no, I'm going to be a business person, but in fact all they do is solopreneurship, which is just work by themselves, or maybe they're a freelancer. I just wanted to get your take on that, solopreneurship versus business ownership.
Yes,
How
it's
does one
very it's
know?
very different, and we need to know the difference, because like you said, if you're a solopreneur, you're actually working but for yourself, and your job and your income is connected to how much you work and whether you work or not. If we are talking about building a business, that's completely other area of building a system. Whether you're building, your online courses, your products, your services that you offer, but it doesn't connect directly to your time and your engagement. And I think the most important thing is to understand what's the difference between growing the business and developing the business. So in order for when we start, like within first year or two, we are growing the business. So we try to reach as much people as possible. We try to, have a larger, bigger prices, huge impact, or whatever we measure, more money coming in. And then when we achieve certain level, we can talk about, okay, now we need system in order to continue to build this business. So in order to, maybe if I'm working currently with 50 clients, and that's my limit, this is the best I can do at the moment, how can I serve 5,000 with the same resources? So what system do I need? What people do I need, between, in order to, and this is the difference between working as a solopreneur and building a business that can work, beside me, whether I'm off traveling or the money keeps coming in, that's the system. So I think what's mostly where people mixed nowadays is whether I'm, person A or person B, and also it takes time to build it up. So yes, it starts with us, and then at one point we decide whether we want to continue the model or we want to change and adapt and automate and put in more into the marketing and sales in order to build it up. So it's not only depending on our effort and our time.
Do you recommend people to find a mentor or go down a course route? Is there any preference that you find more efficient when they're growing the business? Because what happens with a lot of entrepreneurs is what I find is they give up at some point, right? Because they get lost, it doesn't work for them, they don't get any sales, they have this great idea, just can't get it out to market, or they do, but they just don't have the scope for it. Any particular strategies that work really well?
I'm still one, buying some courses on ebooks and everything, because I like information. That's my type. That this is how I learn certain things. But this is like, I need to do something and I need a tutorial to do it. So I buy a course and now I have the information, because courses are the simple education that gives you certain information. It doesn't bring transformation. So what we need to do, it's the action. We need to go through the process in order to get the transformation we want. So I think it's good to combine. We have a bunch of things today. You have courses, you have podcasts like this, you have, conferences and that kind of stuff. So everything does its part. But I think, like you said, when we start alone and we, at certain point, we just get tired. We need someone to say, okay, this too shall pass, just do this, or did you try this? So we need someone to reflect. It's good to have a mentor, but from my perspective, it's not a necessity, depending on even some personal, maybe, personal profile. But I think it's good to have a community. You need to have a certain group of people. It can be it can be 3 people, but to have someone where you can really go, that's your safe place, and where you can say, okay, I'm struggling right now, or I don't have the idea, or this is the situation I'm in, do you have some input? So I think it's good. And for instance, in my mentorship program, I usually have a group around 50 people, and half of them are active. And at the start of the program each year, I tell them, find one person in this community who you find interesting, and make them your buddy. And then when you're accountable, when you have this accountability buddy, then it's like if you and I arrange, to go to the gym together, and I get up one morning and the rain is falling and the wind is really strong, and I'm like, I don't feel like going. But if I know that you will be there, I will bring my stuff and come. But if it's just me, I would easily say, not today, I will go on Friday. So that's why I think this accountability, because sometimes we are more responsible when the other person is involved. From my experience, there are some people, but small percentage in my community, maybe 5% of them, that are self-paced, that are super self-organized, that are very, they just say they do it and they do it. Nobody needs to check on them. But most of us, we need someone for this additional support, for additional motivation, and for this accountability. So from my perspective and my background, I think it's really good works for people.
Talking about you as a business coach and mentor, for women and young people. What impact have you seen your programs make?
Well, for me, it's interesting because not everyone that finished my program become an entrepreneur, and it's a normal thing, of course.
Interesting.
Some of them, have a full-time job and they have some kind of hobby, and then they enter my program and they see what entrepreneurship is. They see all the hats you need to, bring on in order for things to succeed, and then they come to me and they say, I want to keep this as a hobby. It brings me joy. I want to do it for my friends and family, and I'm okay with it. And thank you for this experience, because now I can, let off the burden. Should it be a business? No, it can be a hobby. And they come back to their business, to their full-time jobs more satisfied in a way, but because their expectation, they went through the process, they see and they realize that they are not ready, so they are okay with it. But what's really interesting for me now, that like 7 years that I'm having this mentorship program, is most of their feedbacks comes down to, these programs can change my life. Because I have a part of my program is entrepreneurship skills, where we learn about business model, ideal customers, marketing, sales, finance, everything that needs to be done. But the other part of it, like 30 to 40%, it's personal development. So we work around imposter syndrome, fears, self-sabotage, and inner critic, and that kind of subject. And this is something where they really change perspective, where they really learn, how to set a goal, how to first time go through their values and see how they apply them in their life. So for me, if you ask me what's my goal with my mentorship program, is more to be on this life-changing side than on just building the business, because here they really become a better human being. They become better in their families, as a parent, as a wife or a husband. And I think this is really that's impacting that. Then I'm not impacting just one person, I'm impacting their little community in a way. So for me, that's the most important part of it. And this is something where I maybe even will be more focused in the future, because I really think that's something that change lives.
Speaking about changing lives, how do you define success in your field?
It's a good question, and I think for me a lot has changed when I became a mother, because before that I was open to others measurement of success. So like more money, bigger car, bigger vacation, whatever. But when it comes to kids, you see them, growing up real fast. I have two teenagers now; they are 16 and 13. And looking at them growing up, I see how fast time goes by. So for today, what I consider success is the small moments that we create. I'm actually reading a good book about it. I can give you a recommendation. It's right on here. It's The Power of Moments, that talk about, the moments of our life that we remember, and how can we have more of them when we are aware that we want to, really design them in a way. So for me, success is time with the people that I love. That's the thing, and creating really memories and traveling to nice places. And because every time that the four of us are together, I'm like, this is what making memories looks like. This is something that my kids will remember. That's the thing. That's what we're doing, and that's the most important thing I think we all should do.
Thank you. That's absolutely beautiful. And it is your journey, right? And it is your rules. It is what you define it. So it's not one glove that fits all. It's just you. So that's beautiful. Brilliant. Well, how can people reach you? How can people get to know more about your program? What is the best way to get in
Well,
touch with you?
yeah, the best way is, I have a website. It's soniadakic.com, and you can maybe link it in the description. I also am. I'm not very active on LinkedIn. I think that's the most. That's why I wanted to move. When you reach me on LinkedIn, I was like, let's move from LinkedIn. I'm not there every day, so don't get all the notifications. But I'm very active on Instagram. And you can find me also there by the name, but everything is in Serbian. So I have a few clients that I work with in English, and some of them are living in Serbia, and they can follow through some of my materials. But we do coaching on English. I also have some YouTube channel and the podcast, and I think the podcast is the most lovable format for me for the past year. I started the podcast because I was frustrated with Instagram and the shortest possible formats that we got. It just keep getting shorter and shorter, and I was like, I cannot fit in within 1 minute. So from that frustration, the podcast was born, and I think that's a good lesson to learn, that when something is bugging you, a solution can be a really good thing and valuable that comes out of it. So for someone listening to us and that can follow through in Serbian, look for my podcast, look for my Instagram, reach out, and I would be more than glad to meet with some new inspiring people.
Absolutely. And I'll make sure I put the links down below in the comments so people can reach you.
Thank you.
Sonia, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for being on this podcast. I definitely learned so many things. You are a pool of insights and knowledge, and I'm so glad that Sonia Jovovic recommended you for this.
Thanks.
And I do appreciate your time. So thank you so much. And see you
Thank
around.
you. Thank you for the chance to share the story and to meet with you, and hopefully we'll get a chance to meet in person. So I'm looking forward to it.